Well, good morning, everybody. Nice to see you early birds that are here and everything. I'm sure a few more people will be joining in. I always wonder when I have something like this at this time of the day, how many people are actually going to join in, because let's face it, most of us are retired that are on here. Not everybody, but most of us. And when you're retired, you like to sleep in. I kind of want to sleep in a little bit this morning too, but we'll talk more about the problems I've been having with my sleep, with leftovers of jet lag, I think. But welcome everybody, and let's just go through before we get into things today. Who's already here and joining us? Carolyn is number one. Good morning, Carolyn. And Christina is hard on her heels as number two. So that is great. I'm just going to turn down my monitor here. Candace is here. Good morning, Candace. And Liz it is. Hello from Philly, first live. Well, welcome, Liz. Glad you could join us. I love your handle, Liz it is. Dubrovka is here as well with Al. Al is up and having coffee. Wow, I feel flattered. I really do. And Faith is here. Shadow Wind and Karen B. And Joanna is here as well. Yeah, so we don't have a ton of people here, but I think that will change as time goes on. There'll be a few more coming in, but it's not quantity, it's quality. Yeah, that's what they say. Nobody really means that. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Well, that really depends on you. Hi, Rachel. Because this is all a different format from my usual Monday morning coffees with Stephen, because it's live. And so I like to go with the flow. I like to go with your questions or with your comments. And I do have a plan, several pages. This is going to be a long one. You're going to need 2 cups of coffee at least. But, I'm not afraid to deviate from my outline because, I want to create an interaction between us. So some more people have joined us. Sally Call, good morning. Good morning, Sally. Liz is Ian from Off Quilter Crafter picked it up. I'm not sure what he picked up. Do you mean like that's how you found me? That might be. Because most of you know that we're at my retreat in the spring. One of my guest speakers happened to be Ian from the Off Quilter Crafter as well. Love Ian. Have never met him in person. Would love to someday, but right now there's a border between us. East Coast Kim is here. Hi, Kim. So, yep, people are coming in dribs and drabs. So I would expect as soon as your coffee gets poured, you will be probably here. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to talk about this, that, and everything. Of course, we're back from Japan, and we had a lengthy discussion, Walter and I, with all of you yesterday, if you were on the live. We answered lots of questions about things going on. We did an overview of the whole thing. And if you have any other further questions about what we experienced in Japan, please be sure to put them here in the comment section, and I will try to get to them. Oh, okay. Liz explaining she found me through Ian. Okay. I kind of thought that's what you meant. Sometimes words are difficult, aren't they? Okay, so let's get started first of all with current projects, or what I'm planning more than anything, because being away, I wasn't working on anything. And I'll be honest, I still have not completely got my Sojo back. I would have thought that I'd be raring to go after, 2 weeks, 16 days away from the grind, so to speak. But no, I've been very lethargic, and I think part of that is jet lag. I haven't been sleeping well. And I don't know if I've ever really told people this much. I think I have mentioned it in bits and pieces here and there. I have a problem. I've had it for quite a few years with my feet and my legs primarily, where they feel numb all the time. I do blame it. Well, I think it's a factor of 2 things. One, I think I might have a pinched nerve in my back. That happened maybe many, many years ago. because as I said, this is an ongoing thing. I've have this. It especially bothers me at night. During the day, not really. If I'm up and around and moving, don't have a problem. But it's more at night, and sometimes I will have, what do they call it? Well, I call it restless leg syndrome. You know, where my leg just out in the bed. It's not like that all the time, but it's frequent enough, and sometimes bad enough. It keeps me from really sleeping well. So it could be a pinched nerve. It could be the fact that I have been on statin drugs, Crestor for cholesterol, for years. And there's a lot of horror stories out there about statin, and I've talked to my doctor about it, but my doctor says it's basically the only drug that will handle cholesterol well. Although she did give me a second pill to take, which I don't know if it's doing anything or not. I have tried, somebody recommended to me trying ginger pills. I tried those for a while. Didn't really find that they did much for me. And they're more for, from what I was reading, supposedly, you know, this homeopathic stuff to increase your immune system. Well, my immune system's pretty good. Always has been. I've been lucky that way. I am seldom, knock wood, as soon as I say this, I'll get sick. I seldom ever get sick from anything. And that's the way my whole life has been. But it could be that. But what's your alternative? I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of natural path remedies out there for high cholesterol. And my cholesterol isn't that high. She monitors it. When I say she, my doctor, you know, with blood tests. She's very, very picky. My number's pretty good. My number was like 2.1. They keep changing what the acceptable number is, you know. And she wants it below 2. So I don't know. I try to watch what I eat, all that kind of stuff, but you know, it is what it is. So since we've come back from Japan, I've been really having a hard time sleeping. Now, part of that is jet lag. And I know the last time we went to Australia, even further away in terms of flight time and whatnot, jet lag affected us for a good 2 weeks. So tomorrow we'll have been back, well, or Wednesday, 1 week. And Walter's having the same problem with the sleeping as well, but not because his feet hurt him. So yesterday I decided, did some research, and you know that cannabis is legal here in Canada, and there's derivatives of cannabis that don't get you high, called CBD and CBN, something like that, and they're supposed to aid with sleeping and with, you know, a certain amount of pain management. And when I say pain management, I'm not talking that I have like horrible pain all the time. It isn't really painful. It's weird. It's just this numbness that happens that disturbs me. So we went to our local cannabis store, and there's many of them in our area. I did some research online, and so I went in, and the lady who helped me, she was very, very helpful. And I came out with a bottle of CBN CBD oil. And she explained what I had to do with it. She suggested I start at a 0.5 milligram, and there's a little syringe in it, and you pull it up into that, and then you just shoot it into your mouth, and that's all there is to it. So I tried that last night, and I did sleep better last night, but I don't know if it was because of that, or it's just maybe my body is starting to adjust back to normalcy. I don't know. However, I did wake up at about 2 o'clock this morning, and yeah, I couldn't really get back to sleep all that well. Or I did sleep sort of, but you know, one of those kind of sleeps where you sleep for a bit, open your eyes, see the clock, an hour has passed, you go back to sleep, you open your eyes, 45 minutes have gone past, you know, the kind of thing. And so tonight I'm going to double the dose. I'm going to take 1 milligram, and we'll see how that is. Now, as I said, it's supposed to gently help me to lull me to sleep and reduce these feelings I have. So we'll see how that works. I'm experimenting with this. The one thing about it is it isn't addictive, and it is a natural. Okay, it's not. I don't want to get over-the-counter sleeping pills or stuff like that. I don't want to start that kind of stuff. You know, the chemicals and the whole bit. I'm on enough chemicals with my blood pressure pills and my cholesterol pills. I do not need any more. at all. I wish I didn't really have to take those other ones too. So yeah, that's how jet lag has been affecting me. Probably more information than you needed to know. And let's see, a few people popped in while I was going on about this. Gloria's here. Good morning, Gloria. And Nancy as well. Good morning. Faith says, normally when you travel, Walter likes to wear his black shirts. I noticed he wore one a day, but then he wore his colorful shirts. Was that because of all the Japanese wear black? That's an interesting question, Faith. The Japanese do wear a lot of black. You do not see, at least we did not see in Tokyo or in Osaka, a lot of people dressed in bright colors. One or two around, but most of them were wearing blacks, browns, grays. Now, one of the reasons for that is, okay, business attire. They still dress, and it's funny because they all look like clones. The men are all dressed in business suits. The business suits are black. The pants are black. The jacket's black. The tie is black. Like everything is black. Even the shirts that they're wearing underneath are pretty conservative. No wild colors, just white. And so, you get on a subway and you're getting on with a whole lot of penguins, is what it seems like. So, and I find it surprising because I always thought that Japan would really be a place where people would be majorly into color. I don't know why I think that. But no, it was really drab. And yes, we stood out like a sore thumb, especially when Walter would wear one of his shirts. I was always wearing one of Walter's shirts, the colors and everything like that. But the Japanese people are very polite. They're mostly buried in their cell phones on the subway. And they don't speak to each other. In fact, it's considered impolite to actually talk above a whisper on a subway car. So it's dead silent on those. It's kind of creepy the first time you get in it, but it's also kind of pleasant. So yeah, they're very polite people, and they have very, well, yeah, kind of strict etiquette for things. Yes, Liz, I've looked into neuropathy. Still not really sure. I haven't had a professional look at it, and I'll be honest. One, I don't like doctors. And our doctor, and probably the same with everybody's doctor, our doctor is a pill pusher for everything. And then she takes you and sends you to a specialist for tests. And Walter's gone through that regime on certain things that he has. And generally speaking, the specialists look at you and go, well, why did your doctor send you here? There's nothing wrong, or whatever, or they don't know. So I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of faith in the medical community. I like to say every now and then, modern medicine, not long out of the Middle Ages. So, and I'm probably doing myself dirt by not doing that. And lately I have been thinking of making an appointment with my doctor and telling about this whole thing. I don't know. I'm used to it. I don't like it. Is it causing me a lot of grief? No. But yeah, I'm looking at other ways around it. But it could be that. Good morning, Jen. And good morning, Diana. Rachel says, I have numb toes. Get burning sensation with the doctor. Turns out it's my spine, not my feet. Having physio, see how that helps. Yes, Rachel, that's kind of the same thing as what I have. And I walk every day. Both Walter and I do. In fact, after we're done the live today, I'll be going out for my morning walk. We walk a lot, and that does make a difference. It does. So that's my physiotherapy. I really, though, don't want to get involved with, I know I'm my own worst enemy, being sent to physiotherapy all the time to do all these exercises. And knowing me, I don't know if I would do the exercises regularly. Like I said, I'm my own worst enemy. Chris is here. Hi, Chris. Thank you. This shirt is one. It's got cats on it, as you can see. I have several different shirts with cats on them because I love cats. Don't have one, but I love cats. And it's one of Walter's creations as well. And this actually was one he's made several years ago. And if you've ever worried about whether or not if you make a piece of clothing like a shirt from quilting cotton, because that's what this is, will they stand up in the wash? Yes, they will. This shirt's been washed many times, and it's never been ironed. I could probably use a little pressing, but I don't iron, except for quilt making. Um, Joan's here. Hi, Joan. Thank you, Joan. Yes, it's nice to be back, but you know what it's like after you've been away on a trip. Um, Getting back into the routine of things. Oh, okay, so anyways, speaking of the routine of things, what am I planning to work on? Well, I got to get my Sojo back. I have stuff that needs to be done. Like, for example, the Art East second star to the right. Okay, I have the first 2 months left. Today is the first day of the third month. I haven't cut the fabric yet, and I'll be honest, I love John's patterns. You've heard me say that a million times before, but the common problem with John's patterns is the amount of cutting for each block. It drives me batty, but I just have to do it. And so I am planning today to get on with that. I want to get the pieces for the next one cut out. So on Wednesday, on my usual Wednesday sew day, I can work on that. But I've also got a ton of other projects. Like you can see right over my shoulder here, the lighthouse. That was an in the hoop project. I did that as a palette cleanser just before we went to Japan. It's not done. The panels are done, but now I need to put some borders on it and, put a backing on it, layer it, and put it all together. But I don't know if I'm going to leave it as a wall hanging in that format. I'm really thinking about maybe piecing together the borders. I even had the thought, but I don't know if I'll go this far, of incorporating it into an actual quilt. Kind of like you would do with a panel. I don't know yet. The other project there that's beside it, you see part of it, is called the Lunar Blooms Table Runner, and it's another in the hoop project. The two panels you can see behind me are really not, if I turn my computer just slightly, there's the actual finished, at least the panel sewn together. I sewed those together before I came on here this morning. Those extra panels, and there's a couple of more extra panels, I had problems with the color. I didn't like the colors. So I redid those and finally got what I like. Again, that one has to have borders put on it. It has to be backed, all that kind of stuff. So those were stuff that were left over from before I went to Japan. I have the one called Gilded Books and Blooms tote bag. I have the pieces all stitched out. It's an in the hoop project. Next thing is to put those pieces together and then make the tote bag out of that. So I've got projects sitting around. However, I'm a sucker for pain. I love in the hoop machine embroidery. So guess who came up with a sale? Just when we got back from Japan, and it was Sweet Pea, and I do like Sweet Pea's designs, and they had 50% off all of their designs. So I immediately went into the in the hoop session, and I'm going to show you here. So here is what I bought. This is my account page. So you can see I was busy. I bought 9 different patterns. I'm going to show you these. This one's called Geometric Shapes Blocks Runner. I thought that had a very modern appeal to it. I probably won't do it in exactly those colors, but this is kind of fun. I do like making table runners, and the reason I like making table runners is because they're a little faster than doing a whole quilt. So, that kind of thing. And they're great for gifts. This one too, they're showing that you can put it together as a cushion as well. And I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm just going to give you quick looks. This one's called Another Table Runner. It's with peacocks. And this one, I love houses and things, So this is another one. This one looks like a lot of fun to do. Let's go back here. Well, I've got a bunch. There's a Borgello runner. I'm not going to go through them all because I'm going to talk about some of these projects and my plans for them in more detail tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter. But there you have a whole bunch of projects that are going to keep me busy forever. And there's a couple of projects in that group that I want to make as Christmas presents for people too. So again, as I said, tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter, I'll tell you more about all of that. Let's see. I'm just checking here in the chat. Um, Rachel says, that's why I went to the doctor, because I couldn't wear any shoes apart from my walking boots. Not a good luck when going out at a night out. Yeah. I don't have that problem. I'm okay with shoes and everything. Um, but I think if it got to the point that you're talking about here right now, I think, yeah, I would have to see the doctor. Marlene's here. Hi, Marlene. She says they were in Japan in 1993. My brother was transferred there for work, so we decided to go and visit him. You were quite brave to go out on your own. I don't think I could have done that because of the language. Well, you want to know something? Language was not a problem. Many of the salespeople, restaurant workers, staff at hotels, they all spoke, not the most perfect English, but enough English that we could communicate with it. So, and signs have English in a lot of them too. And thank goodness for Google Translate, because if we got someplace and they gave us a Japanese menu, and most of the time when they realized we didn't speak Japanese, they'd hand us an English menu. But in some cases they didn't, or signs we want to look for, we just use Google Translate. You hold your camera up, take a picture, bang, it translates it. And that's great because, back when we first started traveling last century, that kind of thing didn't exist. So, this is a good example of how technology can be your friend, especially for travelers. And it's perfectly safe. That was one thing that impressed me about Japan. Never once did we feel any kind of fear. Any part of where we walked in Tokyo or in Osaka. I am sure there are parts that are less desirable than others, maybe, and we weren't really in those parts. But no, very safe. They have a very low crime rate there. And in fact, people will go in someplace to get something at a counter like a coffee, come back out to their table, and in order to indicate to other people that that table's taken, they'll leave their cell phone or their purse sitting on the table, unattended. And it'll be there when they come back. Nobody does anything. It's just not part of their culture, which I think is a really nice thing. Too bad it couldn't be part of our culture here. I doubt I would ever leave. Not doubt, I know for sure. There's no way. I don't care where I am. I would never leave my wallet or my phone or anything unattended at all. Not here. Not where I live. Yeah, but over there, not a big deal. Rachel says she loves the lighthouse, would look cool with seabirds, etc. around as a border. That is an idea. That is an idea. Faith says, I think you can hear the 3D printers in the background. Not loud, just curious what is printing. Well, that's the other thing. And I'm going to talk about what I'm printing a little later on in today's program. But yeah, as soon as I got back, I had things I want to get printed on my printer, and I'll be sharing those with you shortly. Let's see. Oh, Cheryl is here. Hi, Cheryl. She says she enjoyed watching the trip videos. Well, I'm glad you did, because there'd be no point for me to put them up if you didn't enjoy them. I did get some criticism from a couple of people. They thought in my videos I was being a little too negative. And yes, I agree. I think I agree with the fact that my tone on certain things may have sounded a little overcritical. I wasn't being negative, but I hate watching travel videos where everybody says, this is wonderful, this is wonderful, this is wonderful, and this is wonderful, because I don't believe those people. Because not everything is perfect no matter where you go in the world. And I was pointing out and being very honest about the things that I really liked and the things that bothered me maybe. I mean, overall, it was a great trip. And we said yesterday on our live, would we go back to Japan? And I said, no, not really. Not that I wouldn't, but it would have to be a very special reason why I'd be going back. I enjoyed it when we were there. It's definitely a different culture from what I am used to, and that's why you travel, to experience different cultures and everything and different foods, and that was all right. We did not have a bad experience or anything like that, but there are just some things, like the number of people. Far too many with people. And I'm a kind of person, I don't like to be in crowds. Well, you couldn't avoid them no matter where you went. Now, we were in two very large cities. Tokyo is the largest city in Japan, and Osaka is the second largest city. So, and when we're talking large cities, we're talking bigger than any city we have in Canada. Like 3 times the size Tokyo is in population to Toronto. It's even bigger than New York. So lots of people, and we talked yesterday about how that played out when we got on the subway and everything, you know, but I was able to fight down my panic of crowds, and I got used to it. You know, so yeah, but I said to Walter last night, if you gave me a choice of 3 places, all expenses paid, that I could go to, and I had to pick one, and if one of them was Australia, one was London, England, and one was Japan, well, those would be my 3 choices in a row. And in fact, Japan wouldn't necessarily be the third. I'd rather go to the Netherlands again, or whatever, or Scandinavia. But my number one choice, and my number one choice is always going to be Australia. I love Australia, and everybody that's a regular on here know about that. Let's see here. Rachel says maybe they have a decent justice system that deters felons. Well, I think they do. They do not suffer criminals, that's for sure, in that society. But I don't know much about their justice system. Marlene says, I think you would have enjoyed seeing Hiroshima. We also were able to go to the Nordic outlet store. Spent a lot of money at that outlet store. I don't know what that store is. I have never heard of it before. And as far as Hiroshima, and by the way, I learned something, which I knew, but I wasn't sure if I was right. It is Hiroshima. It is not Hiroshima. The Japanese, and I heard the Japanese people say it, they said Hiroshima. So, because you hear both on this side of the world. But there in Japan, it is Hiroshima. And you want to know something? We thought about going to Hiroshima. It was a bit of a trip from Tokyo. We would have had to take the train, of course, which is fine because we did take the train quite a bit. The bullet train, it's great. But I don't think I want to go there and be reminded of what happened there. I find that, well, to say the least, very disturbing. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I missed out on something I should have gone to. I don't know. I don't feel that I have. But, yeah, it didn't feel right to me. Liz says, I'd rather have the truth than be disappointed when I got there. Well, yeah, exactly. You know, yes, when you watch travel videos, including my own, it is the opinion of the creator. So everything I said in the video was my opinion, honest opinion. It doesn't mean you have to agree with that opinion. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm just telling you how I'm reacting to it. That's the way I am on all of my videos. And again, if you've been a regular here, you know that I don't blow smoke up anybody's rear end. I am a very honest person about my feelings. I can be wrong about things, but, you know, can you be wrong about your feelings? Your feelings are individual and they're up to you. Okay, Rachel, good luck with the eye scan. So anyways, let's move on then. So projects, things like that. I did buy Japanese fabric, and we showed the small amounts of fabric that we did buy when we were in Japan on So Chatty this past Friday. I'm going to talk about my plans for the Japanese fabric, which right now are none, tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter. But I was a little disappointed in the fabric shopping. There were several of you said, oh, I hope you're taking an extra suitcase to stock up on fabric. And we said, no, we weren't. We had our backpacks. But most of the fabric we came across was not Japanese fabric. It was the same as the fabric we get here in North America. You know, Riley Blake, Kona, K-Facet, all that kind of stuff. Prices were a little better, slightly better than what we pay in North America. but not so much so that you'd go, oh, I gotta have this, gotta have this, because look at the money I'm saving. So we had planned beforehand that we were not going to buy fabric unless we saw something that one was unique and it really called out to us. And unique being we can't get it online or get it here in North America. And two, it had to be made in Japan. So the fabric we came back with, I bought 3 pre-cut packages. Each package was 2 meters of fabric, and they were all made in Japan. Walter bought 2 packages, and again, all made in Japan. There was lots of fabric in Tokyo, especially. There's an area, a fabric district, and there were like over 90 stores within probably a square mile radius, kind of a thing. But they all pretty much had the same thing. And I mean, if you were into garment making, oh, you name it, you could get whatever you wanted. So you could get silk, you could get rayon, you can get, I don't know, what do people use for clothing, kind of a thing. There was lots of choice there in that. In quilt fabrics, again, as I just said, not so much. Now, there were lots of notions. Walter bought some buttons because he's always on the looking out for unique buttons, and he bought quite a few as well. But yeah, it was really not quite disappointing, but just, you know, nothing really excited me particularly with their fabric selection. Let's see here. Liz says, hubby and I went to London and Paris last year. My eye's not so good. Hubby and I went to London and Paris last year. The people in both countries were super nice. The traffic in Paris was insane. Okay, I'm going to, my opinion is London. I love London. I absolute London. I've been to Paris several times, but the last time we were in Paris, we were staying in London. We took the Channel to Paris for a day. I didn't like the atmosphere as much this time. I'm not sure what changed. The moment we got outside of the train station, we were bombarded by people who were not Parisian. So, you know, they were from other countries, probably mostly from Africa and that kind of thing. And they were aggressive, and you were looking over your shoulder and you want to get far away from that. I mean, we only spent a day in Paris on that trip. So, you know, it wasn't, but we'd been to Paris before where we spent a lot more time over the years. But there was an atmosphere I didn't like, whereas I felt much more comfortable in London. Now, London's got its problems too, as any city does, but I just feel more comfortable in London. I love London. We both do. We actually love it. Let's see. Faces, if this none of our business, please excuse me for asking, have you guesstimated what you spent on this trip? I know you have mentioned the subject for previous trips. Yes. This trip actually was not bad. We had budgeted a lot more money than we actually needed for it, and I think it works out to about $7,000 or $8,000, which includes our flights. That's pretty good for 16 days. Accommodation was not particularly inexpensive there, and we weren't staying at the absolute Ritz of hotels or anything like that. The hotels we were in were very comfortable, very clean. Everything in Japan is very, very clean and very efficient. So I think it worked out to one of the hotels. The one in Tokyo was, I think, over 400 Canadian dollars a night, which is about what you'd pay in Toronto right now. And the one in Osaka, yeah, get it right, was about a little over 300 a night. So that's not, in this day and age, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but that's not unreasonable. And I mean, we had 16 days, 15 nights or so in hotels. We had gotten our flights way back early last fall. So at the time, we got it at the lowest price you could, and I forget what we paid for a round trip flight. May have been 2,000 a piece. So ballpark figure with the food. Food was reasonably priced everywhere we went. Tours, admission prices for things, whatnot. Yeah, okay, let's say this whole thing cost us probably about, let me think. And then we put another percent. Yeah, it was under 10,000. It was probably about $7,000 to $8,000 Canadian. So that's not bad for two people. That's not each. That's total. So yeah, travel's not cheap. We always when we plan a major trip, we start to look at budget things and working it all out. Oh, Liz, that's something you don't often hear people say about London: spectacular weather. You were lucky. You were lucky. Yeah, because most of the time it's raining. But actually, we've been very lucky, though, too, when we've gone. We've had, pretty much nice weather, maybe 1 or 2 days of some rain. Didn't stop us from doing things. The weather in Japan, in Tokyo, was very nice. It was hot. It averaged around 28 to 29 degrees Celsius every day. And I think there was only one day where we had a little bit of drizzle. And it was fairly light. So, yeah. Now, June is the rainy season. And in fact, our neighbor next door sent Walter an email 2 days ago or so. And she said, guess you got home at the right time. There's a typhoon coming into Tokyo. And Walter, of course, immediately got on the internet and checked the weather channels and that. I think it missed Tokyo, but it is typhoon season in June. So, yeah. And that's picking your time to go to Japan is tricky. Like, I don't like crowds. Well, everybody talks about going to see the cherry blossoms, We did not want to see the cherry blossoms. I've seen cherry blossoms before. It's not a big deal to me. I'm sure it's beautiful. But, also everybody and their dog. In fact, it's so bad in Japan now, all the parks that have the cherry trees with those, they now charge admission just to keep control of the crowd. And it's just not like you go for a free-for-all. You buy a ticket online and you book a time for when you're going to go to it. And it's also, because it's such an attraction around the world, tourist level, the prices on everything triple. Your hotel rooms triple. And you've had to book a hotel room months in advance if you're going to go at cherry blossom time, because you're probably not going to get anything there. So we didn't want to go then. And then right on the heels of the cherry blossom is something they call Golden Week. And there's 4 national holidays that all fall in a row. And everybody and their dog takes that time off and flood the cities and everything. So again, if you don't like crowds, not the time to go. If you go in June, it's rainy season. We hit it at a good time. We arrived there just after Golden Week finished, but even while we were there, Tokyo, there was a big celebration for something. It had to do with some shrines, and they had an influx of several million people into Tokyo for 3 days. Yeah. So, what I said already about crowds and how I don't like them, well, yeah. We stayed away, though, from the area that they were all congregating at, which is one of the temples in Tokyo. So we were okay. If you go in July, August, or September, it is hot. Hot and humid. 90% or plus humidity. So that's not good. And then if you go in the early fall, October, November, it's hit and miss what the weather's going to be like. So really planning a trip, you need to look at these things if you want to go to Japan and get the most out of your trip. Walter does all the research. He is the best travel agent in the world. And he figured this all out. And so while we were there, it was warm, but it wasn't humid for the most part. Very little rain. And the crowds were the normal. Still big, but normal, manageable, I guess, or you got used to it, put it that way. Yeah, it is good to have a travel planner built into it. So, let's see. So tomorrow on Idiot Quilter, I'll talk more about the Japanese fabric I bought and what I'm thinking of doing with it. Or I'll probably be looking towards you if you come on to the Idiot Quilter. It's not live, so it'll be where you can put it into the comment section if you've got suggestions after you see the fabric and hear me talk about it. Because I'm not sure what I want to do with it. I want to do something that's going to, you know, feature it. Uh, put it out there sort of a thing. I don't want it to get buried in with other types of fabric. Okay, so let's see. So what's been happening since we've been gone here at home? Briefly, the political scene. And here in Canada, well, we've had a resignation from the government's cabinet, and that is the Minister of the Environment. The environment here in Canada has been a very hot issue of late. The whole thing about global warming and carbon taxes and stuff like that. Well, it seems like our Prime Minister, Carney, and I love our Prime Minister, but this is one thing that I'm not so sure on, and he's coming under a great deal of criticism. He has kind of rolled back a little bit on the environmental issues or things that were supposedly being put into place for this. And so his minister of the environment resigned because of this. I think there's some other reasons too. So, and there's another cabinet, another minister who has resigned as well because he's got a new job. It's still in the government, but it's a different area, so it can't be in the cabinet. So Carney just recently was able to acquire a majority government, but it's, these two seats missing still gives a majority, but I think a majority by one seat. So there will be by-elections, and they probably will be filled by Liberals, which will, give him two more seats into holding his majority government. But, it sounds to me like the Minister of the Environment, it was more than just being about the environment issues. Who knows what goes on? Okay, so meanwhile, out in Alberta, we still have the separation debate. And there's been a lot of false information, misinformation that's been on the internet about what's going on in Alberta. Alberta does not want to separate from Canada. A faction of Alberta thinks it's a good idea. They're idiots because there is no way they can sustain themselves as a separate country. The infrastructure that's provided by our federal government for them and everything, it's just not going to work. And anybody with half a brain can see that. I don't know. They think that they're so being unfairly treated by the rest of the country. Thing is, I have yet to see a list of what those things are. Okay, so what exactly are you talking about? Don't see a list. Or it hasn't been publicized or whatever. If there is one, I don't think there is one. So, get off the pot. And they are a minority. So they're going to have a referendum question in the next election, provincial election. And that question, it's two questions. One, do you think Alberta should be its own country or should be its own sovereign state or something like that? And the other question is, should we have a referendum on separating from Canada? So it's a referendum question about having a referendum. There's politics being played here. And the head of the premier of Alberta is an idiot. She really is. The only thing she cares about, and it's very, very obvious, but then what politician doesn't, is she only cares about herself, not about the people she's supposed to be leading. So enough said about that. Apparently auto theft and crime is down in Ontario. We were having a real problem for the last few years with cars being stolen. But the police finally, they've recovered 5.5 million stolen cars, and they've managed to, by their estimation, curtail the auto thefts that have been happening here. Time will tell whether that's true. And of course, you hear the doom and gloom, and the media is that about there's this insolvency surge, as they called it, Canadian insolvency volumes reached their highest number since 2009, reflecting the tightening financial pressures on households nationwide. Yes, things are expensive. We all know that in North America. You know, you'd have to take out a second mortgage for a green pepper and that kind of thing. But people are still spending money. People are still going out for dinner. People are still, they're bitching, but they're still doing all of these things. Now, I'm sorry, this may sound a little bit snotty, but a lot of cases where people are in insolvency is because they didn't plan financially. What I mean is, do you need 2 large luxury cars? Do you need the 4,000 square foot home? Do you need to have your children at the age of 30 living with you still and supporting them? Do you need DoorDash 3 times a week? Jesus, get in that kitchen and bake and cook. You know, there are ways to cut back. So I don't feel sorry for those people. I'm not a rich man, but we spent our working lives planning financially for our future. And it has paid off. But there were things that had to be sacrificed along the way. So, you know, a lot of people don't plan for their retirement financially. You know, one obvious thing is what we thought was we had a mortgage on the house. We were both working, but our plan was we were not going to retire with a mortgage, and we didn't. And we paid the mortgage off through planning and, you know, shifting our attitude towards what we were spending money on in order to be able to do that. And that is one of your biggest expenses. You don't want to, in your retirement, have a mortgage hanging over your head, especially right now with the way interest rates are and up and down, and you're not sure about, you know, the next time you renew the mortgage, if you're going to be paying more or less. You don't know. The uncertainty. It removes one of those major stresses in your life. If when you retire, you don't have to worry about a mortgage. That's my financial advice. Take it or leave it, whatever. And of course, now we have the summer weather outlook, which now, after the last few years with being, you know, the whole climate change, hot summers, forest fires everywhere. So what they're saying for us is Canadians are being told to expect a significantly hotter than average summer season. Yeah. And of course, wildfires have started out in the western provinces again. Yeah, I do pray for rain for them out there because it's horrible. It's becoming the norm though. And I don't know, what can you do about that? That basically is an act of nature. So whatever. Personally, I like a hot summer. Didn't always. But because we get so little of it in Canada. You know, this is June the 1st. I put on my shorts today. Even though when I got up, it was 9 degrees Celsius, which for those of you that don't know Celsius, Fahrenheit, that's about 48 degrees Fahrenheit. So a little brisk. Now, right now, as I look at my watch, it's 13 degrees Celsius. So that's a little warmer. That's about 56. So the temperature's going up. And I think the high, though, today is only supposed to be 19 Celsius, which is 68. Well, it's room temperature. Yeah. But no, I've got my shorts on. I'll be wearing my sandals. If I was a really, really good Canadian, I would have started wearing my shorts in March. Yep. And you think I'm making a joke about that. I am not. There are lots of people you saw in March. First warm day you got in March, they're out there in shorts. Yep. No jacket. So, yeah, that's just how Canadians do it. Okay. Because we only have about 2 months of decent weather, summer, and then the fall comes and it gets cold, drizzly, and then it's cold for 6 more months. Oh, there's Walter peeking about. Say hello, Walter. Are you wearing clothes? Do you have pants on? Good. So there's Walter, everybody. Say hello, Walter.
Hello.
Yeah. And you're going to go, a few are going to say, my God, what's he doing up at 8:45 in the morning? Well, Walter, what's your excuse?
I couldn't sleep.
Are you working on the deck?
I was gonna go maybe over to Costco and see if I can get a new cylinder for the
Oh,
propane.
for the propane tank?
Yeah.
And why do you have a ruler in your hand?
So I want to measure pots.
Oh, okay. Walter's measuring his pot. No, he's talking about the pots and our grow lights and things. So, yeah, he can't sleep these days either. So, I mean, he has seen the sun now more times in the morning than I think he's ever seen it. Um, okay, so let's see what we were talking about. Weather, all that stuff. And let's see. Jen says, good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Jen. Glad to have you and Walter back home safely. Now back to normal programming. Yep. Jeannie's here. Hi, Jeannie. Karen says, good morning to Walter. Mary's here. Hello, Mary. Everybody's saying good morning to Walter. He's out of the room now. So, so that's what's been going on in the political scene in the last week here in Canada. You notice I don't mention the American scene because why? You turn on anything, any form of media, and you're going to hear about whatever. So, the hell with that. So what are our plans here around the home now that we're back? Well, I needed to clean up the patio. We have an area underneath our deck that we have all screened in. And I'll show you what I mean here. I just have to find, give me a moment here. Everything pops off my screen when I want it most. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we have this area underneath our deck that years ago Walter enclosed with privacy lattice and screening out the front of it. And, you know, we pack everything that you're about to see up for the winter, and then stuff blows in. And so I went out the other day and I cleaned everything up, and here's what it's looking like right now. This is our cozy little sitting area under there. You can see I changed my decor around, not that you would remember from last year a little bit, but I used to have some 3D printed cactus and things that were on the tables. Well, I got rid of those, and I've created these candles over in the corner that have little lights in them. These candles I didn't print. They're ones I bought on Amazon, but they change colors. Everything's remote control. We do have to replace the lighting. You can see a piece of it hanging down here that we have all around here. Again, controlled remotely, change colors and do things. Walter's got some new strip lighting he wants to put up there, and this one's had it. Got to get that cord up out of the way. I don't like that hanging down. But yeah, it's a comfortable little area, and we like to sit out here. Here's another shot from a different angle. We like to sit out here on a summer's evening. It's all screened in. So we have a forest behind us, as you can see in this picture. And of course, there's mosquitoes. So, you know, we don't have to worry about the mosquitoes or anything else getting in there. And it's just a nice little place to sit. And it's all waterproofed underneath. It's underneath our deck, actually. Our deck is 1 story up. And that's Walter put all that corrugated stuff under there. And and there's an eaves trough. You can see it there one corner. You know, if it rains and it goes through the slats in the deck above, it gets channeled down in the eaves trough and out into the backyard. So it stays relatively dry under there. So yeah, it's a nice little sanctuary. Last year I made had some of this fabric I didn't know I was going to do with. So I recovered the cushions for the chairs. And it's nice. I like sitting out there on a summer's evening. Until you hear chomp, 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 and you know that a coyote has got a bunny. And bunnies scream. They scream like a baby. They sound like a baby when they're being munched upon. Yeah. It's the life we have when we live next to a forest. So let's see here. What else? Oh, yeah. Other things we have in there. We have a hot tub under there. And we've had that hot tub for over 25 years. It still works, but it's on its last legs. And we don't use it. We haven't used it in several years. It just sits there. So plan this summer. We were going to do it last year, but we didn't get around to it. We got to find somebody that will come and remove the hot tub, the panels that are all screened in. Walter, when he put those up, he made them so they can be unscrewed and removed. And the hot tub can go out. and away. And then we're going to have that whole area free. So then we have to think about what are we going to put there? Um, you know, we don't do a lot of entertaining, so it's not like we have a whole bunch of people over. In my imagination, I would love to put, let me just go back here. I would love to put, you can see part of the hot tub here, but this is a whole fairly large area in here. Well, the size of the hot tub, and the hot tub is a 6 to 8 man hot tub. Um, so, I thought, getting the outdoor furniture, the kind of stuff like the couches and the chairs and all that, and makes it look like a living room. But there's only the two of us, and we probably wouldn't use it. So I don't know. I'm thinking now that maybe it would be nice to put maybe a little bistro table and like a high top table and a couple of like chairs there, and so we can eat al fresco in summertime or something, at the table up there. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but we'll figure it out, I'm sure, as time goes by. We also have to fix our fence. While we were gone, there was a huge windstorm, and our fence has been here for, well, almost as long as we've been in the house. We've been in the house for 31 years. It's still in good shape, but we noticed that the neighbor, we have Ring cameras. So the Ring camera went off. Our neighbor was looking after our yard while we were gone. He was cutting the grass. He went into the backyard, and it looked like he sort of propped up one of the posts of the fence. We have yet to speak to him about why that is, because Walter kind of inspected it, and yeah, it's a little crooked, but didn't know why he did that. This windstorm kind of blew it a bit over, but we need to have it looked at and make sure. There's a part on that fence, and then the fence that borders with our other neighbors, it needs a little bit of work too. So we have to figure out how we're going to go about that. And when I say we, I mean Walter, because I don't know what the right end of a hammer is. Okay, I'm just not good at that. Walter's much better, but we may have to hire somebody, a fencing company or something, to come in and take a serious look at it. But the fence is done well for 30 years. Yeah, it was well built at the time. The people that we hired, they did a good job on it. So that's another thing we have to look at. And then I said we don't really entertain a lot, but the same people that looked after our yard and everything, our next door neighbors, we want to have them over for a barbecue to thank them for that. Plus, we got them a couple of little things while we were in Japan that we, want to give to them as well. And I had made them, they had been to South Africa in the early part of the spring. And so I made them a table runner that I haven't given to them yet, of that is African themed, and in the Hoop project. And so, like to thank them for, looking after things and that kind of thing. So we have that. And we have a friend coming over for dinner tomorrow night. It's his birthday. Well, it was his birthday in the middle of May while we were gone. And he's a younger guy. Well, younger. He's in his late 40s. We've known him for years. And he's a gamer. And that's all he does, He was living in his father's basement. And finally, his father moved into a retirement home, so he had to find an apartment. And he's a security guard at a casino in the area. But anyways, I know he really loves things like Godzilla. So we went to the Godzilla store in Tokyo. Yes, they have one. They don't have one. They have three. But we went to the official flag, what do you ever call it, Flagstaff store or whatever, and I got him a Godzilla, and got him some. I saw these cards that were Godzilla themed. They have different, I think they're different pictures from different movies about Godzilla over the years or something like that. So got him that, and we're having him over to celebrate his birthday tomorrow night, actually. So that'll be nice. Yeah, so let's see here. I just need to clear my screen. What else do I have on here that I was going to show you? Oh, yeah. Well, we'll come back to that in a moment. As we move into the second hour of Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen, I hope you're still awake here and you've had your coffee or having more coffee, because I certainly am. I had a cup of coffee before you guys got on here this morning. So this is my second cup of coffee. I drink 2 cups of coffee a day. 2 cups in the morning, and that's it. I seldom drink coffee in the afternoon. I might on an occasion, but most of the time, no, I don't. That's just me. Don't know why. Okay, new product review. Have I bought anything since I got home? Yes, I have. And I'm going to share that with you. Let me just find it here. These are practical things that I bought. Okay, here is the first one. Okay, I had one of these before. It is a duster, a compressed air duster. Let's get this to go up a little bit back here. I have one already. Doesn't look like this, but the same kind of thing. These are great when you're cleaning out your sewing machine or your embroidery machines for blowing out the dust bunnies. You do clean your machines, don't you? One of the leading causes for why your machine is not stitching properly is probably because you've got lint and dust and little pieces of thread down in where the bobbin area is in the machine. You need to clean it out all the time, regular basis. Give it a drop of oil on the wick underneath the bobbin case or the bobbin and blow it out. Blowing it out does a great job. Now, some of you are going to say, yes, but that creates moisture and those dust bunnies get wet and they all cling to the gears inside your sewing machine. And it can happen if you use canned air. This is not canned air. There is no moisture. Highly recommend these. This one I haven't used much yet because I just got it like 2 days ago. It was a little bit more pricey than the first one I bought, but the problem with the first one that I bought, get back here. First one I bought, it doesn't always charge up. They have a USB. This one does too, a USB plug for charging it. The other one, it looked like it was charging. Then I go to use it, it hadn't taken a charge. So I was getting sick of that. So, and I did read online way after the fact, after I bought it at Amazon, that this was a common complaint by people. Pays to read the reviews. So this one has good reviews and it's powerful. It has 3 settings. And when you hit the top setting, that sucker will blow your sewing machine across the room. I kid you not. And it has attachments for different features. So yeah, that was a little bit of an investment, but it's something that I use all the time. So I figured, yeah, I'm going to get a decent one. I mean, you can spend a lot more money on these than just that. I saw ones for 130 bucks. I think that's overkill. The other thing I bought was I needed a new glue gun. My other one was getting all icky, as they do at times. And I'd had the other one for a long time. So I got this one, and so far I'm happy with it. The only thing I'm not happy about is it does not have an on-off switch. So I like to leave my glue gun plugged in my, it's close to my cutting area and that kind of thing. So at a moment's notice, I can just turn it on, let it warm up for 5 minutes, and away I go. This one means now I have to unplug it and plug it in, which isn't a big deal, but I didn't realize that when I purchased it, that was how that was going to be. But it's a decent glue gun, and so far, the little bit I've used it, I'm happy with it, with the exception of that problem I was already talking about, turning it on and off. Okay, so let me just go back to you guys, my screen here, and see. Thank you, Nancy. And Pat's here. Hi, Pat. Glad you're home safe. Now I can add you back into my routines. Patio's also inviting. Yep. I have sewn out there, but it's a bit of a pain in the butt to get things set up because I have some collapsible tables, and I thought when I first got into sewing it would be nice out there on a summer afternoon with a light breeze blowing away and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's too much work, especially with the setup I have now for moving my sewing machine out there. So no, I don't do that anymore. But it's a thought. Oh, lots of people like the patio area. Okay, Barb says, why don't you use the hot tub? We're just over it. It's when we were younger, when we first got the hot tub, we would sit out in that hot tub, especially in the winter. Hot tubs are great in the winter. And that's one reason why there's screening under there in the patio area, because the snow, it kept the snow from drifting in. In the summer, it keeps out the mosquitoes. In the winter, it keeps out the snow. But we would sit out there in the winter, and people go, oh, I know lots of people have hot tubs. They never use it in the winter. That is the best time to use a hot tub. There's nothing like sitting out there, seeing a gentle snowfall, mood lighting on, a little music playing, and sucking back a couple of bottles of wine. And, you put your wine in plastic wine glasses because you should never use glass around your hot tub because if something breaks and it goes in the hot tub, well, good luck finding the pieces without having to drain the whole hot tub. And that's a chore. So we'd sit out there, and you knew when it was really cold, your wine glass, you'd pick it up and you had a Slurpee. And a lot of people go, ooh, they couldn't do that. Well, we did. That was the best time. In fact, we seldom ever used it in the summertime if it was too hot out. You don't want to be sitting in a hot tub. Now, some people say, well, why don't you just drop the temperature on it? You can do that, but then you also can produce algae in it. Hot tubs have to be maintained, and there is a lot of maintenance for a hot tub. And ours, Walter, even now, he still checks the hot tub. If it needs some chemical put in it, he'll put it in. We have an ozonator in it, which cuts down on how much chemical you need to use. It basically uses ozone kind of a thing to keep the water nice and clear. There is nothing worse than getting into somebody. First of all, I will never go in somebody else's hot tub. A lot of people do not maintain their hot tubs properly, and you do not want murky water. You don't want to get into a hot tub that, is foaming. Yes, they do. They foam. They especially foam, and I'm sorry, ladies, but usually the foaming is caused because of what ladies, their moisturizers and things like that on their body. That gets in the water, and the water will start to foam. They actually have an additive you can put in the water to cut down on the foam. Yeah. Or if you're wearing bathing suits, notice I said if you are wearing a bathing suit, there could be residue in the bathing suit from just normal machine washing, and that gets in the water too. So there's work to be done with a hot tub. They are not self-sufficient. So we're getting older with that kind of thing. They do use electricity, although not as much as you would think. So we're not interested anymore getting into them. Plus, they're great if you have a lot of aches and pains and things like that. But you got to get into them. And depending on your setup, like we have about 2-3 steps you go up and then you have to step down to it. And believe me, you get to a certain age where, it's all fun and games until someone slips and falls and breaks a hip. So we're just not using it. It's time to get rid of it. It is. And we've had different things replaced on it over the years. So, it's computerized as they all are these days. We've had a motherboard replaced in it before. I mean, it's over 25 years old. Still looks in great shape because of Walter, because, of everything I said about maintaining it. But it's time. It's time to get it out of there and, explore that space for other uses, things like that. Oh, Mona's here. Hi, Mona. And Inez is here. Good morning, Inez. Barb says maybe go into it a few times again. You might change your mind. Tried that, Barb, and we don't. The novelty is worn off. We use it a lot in its lifetime, but it's been the last few years we haven't. And we have done that. We've gotten in it again. And we sit in there and go, why? This is boring. Maybe if we had television set out there underneath the deck, and I'm not joking, some people do, and we could do that. You can get television sets that are basically meant for outdoors, but why do I want to watch a television while I'm sitting in a hot tub? Yeah. Now, Barb, if you'd love it, if you pay for it, you pay for its removal and pay for shipping and the whole bit, we'll give it to you for nothing. Believe me, you could buy your own brand new hot tub for a lot less money than going through that. And it says, I wouldn't get into anyone else's hot tub. It's like bathing in someone else's water. Exactly, Inez. Exactly. Karen goes, outdoor TV. Yep. Yeah, I've thought about that. But no, we'd just be watching YouTube anyways. because that's primarily what we watch on TV anymore is YouTube. Okay, so some highlights from the videos in the past week. Well, there wasn't anything from last week from Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen because we weren't here. There wasn't anything from Idiot Quilter because we weren't here. But we did do a So Chatty, as I've already mentioned, and we talked about what we bought. And we did a food taste test. Food from vending machines. Japan is big on vending machines for everything. And while we were sitting in the airport waiting for our flight home, we still had money left on our what's called a Suica card. A Suica card is what you use for the subway and train system, and it's one of those cards that are refillable. But the thing is, we had money left over on the card, and you can't get it back. So you can't redeem it back, and it's only good in Japan, in Tokyo. So you could use it on one of the vending machines in the airport. So we bought all kinds of crap that was in there, and we did a taste test on Friday. So if you missed that, tune into So Chatty on Friday and see what we thought of the little treats we got out of the vending machine. Now, what am I planning this week for So Chatty? Well, if all goes well, I'm continuing the series on the AccuQuilt dies, and I have one die I have never opened. I've had it for about 3 years, and that makes the double wedding ring block. And the beauty of using an AccuQuilt, and a lot of people, talk about the double wedding ring, but, they're afraid of sewing curves, and I am one of those people as well. Well, AccuQuilt has a system whereby when you cut the pieces, it cuts notches that you can match up so you can sew your curves perfectly. So we're going to test that theory out. And I'm going to try and make a video later this week for that. That will be on So Chatty on Friday. Now, if I don't get that done, I don't know what we're going to be talking about, but we'll find something. And of course, we did do Stephen and Walter live this week, and we just dissected our trip. Okay, so things coming up. Well, we're back getting into the routine. So Sewing with Stephen on Wednesdays is back on. We've had 3 Wednesdays missed because of our trip. So this Wednesday we start back up to the regular schedule. That's for anybody new here. I have a sewing day for everybody is welcome. It is a Zoom, however, it is not a YouTube live. So you will find in the show notes of this video today after it goes for rebroadcast, and in the Idiot Quilter tomorrow, and on So Chatty there will be a link for Sewing with Stephen. It's always there in the show notes. It's always starts at 9 o'clock Eastern time on Wednesdays. We run till about 4 in the afternoon. It's come and go as you please, work on whatever you want. We're a friendly group, so don't worry if you're a little afraid of, meeting new people. They'll become your friends instantly. I can tell you that, and I'm not joking. It is a great group. I missed it while we were away, so I'm really looking forward to getting things restarted with that. I'm also looking forward to this coming Saturday because I am hosting a pop-up sew day. And I have these, regulars know I have these at least once a month, sometimes twice. Usually once a month I try to get one in. It's always on a Saturday, and it starts at 8 a.m. Eastern time and runs until 4 in the afternoon. All are welcome. Again, it is a Zoom. So the link for it is in the show notes for everything I put up this week. And for those of you that are on my mailing list, I sent it out this morning before I started this, the link for that. So again, it runs the same way as the Wednesday ones do. It's come and go. You don't have to be there right at 8 o'clock in the morning. You can come whenever it suits you. If you can only spend an hour or 2 hours, that is perfectly all right. And yeah, it's a good opportunity to get caught up on projects. We usually average around 25 to 30 people on it. It depends. Now that the nicer weather's out there summer, people may not want to be stuck indoors on a Saturday sewing. So I never know how many people are there, but it runs just the same. So yeah, so that's this coming Saturday, June the 6th. And doors open for it. The virtual doors open for it at 8 a.m. Eastern. Okay, so speaking of the weather, well, let's take a look at a live view of what things are looking like outside right now. And here you go from my Ring camera. You can see it's blue sky. It is sunny. I don't think there's any clouds in the sky. There's a bit of a glare on the camera. And Yeah, it's looking nice out there today. Right now, it's temperature's gone up a couple of degrees since we started. It's now 15 C, so that's about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's okay. And I'm going out for my walk after this is over. Um, Walter was just out there. This is live. In fact, let's spy on Walter, shall we? We have rings all over the place. Yeah, he's in the garage. He's taking out his car. So, yeah, he's off to get a propane tank. And if you want to see the backyard, we have one for the backyard too. This is what our backyard looks like. Nice to show you all. So, Walter's little he shed in the back there is a little man cave while he stores things in there. He has a lock on the door though. And I think I have a key for the lock, but I do not trespass. I don't go into his little shack. It's just storing stuff. But this is our backyard. This is the forest in behind us. You'll notice that we have not done a whole lot with our backyard, and we've lived here for 31 years. We don't sit in the backyard. We've talked about putting in, putting in some landscaping and stuff, but that's just more stuff to maintain. So we keep the grass cut. Right now, I think Walter's done some reseeding here. We got some bare patches. So the only things that really use the backyard are usually the animals, like the bunnies, the skunks, occasionally a raccoon. Coyotes don't usually come into the backyard. There is a fence there. But it's nice to have this, and this one reason we picked this lot when the house was being built was because they can't build behind us. That's a Boy Scout reserve. We have campers some weekends. We had some this past weekend. You sometimes get glimpses of them back beyond the trees. That doesn't bother us. We knew that before we moved into this house that was a possibility. In fact, we signed a form that said we understood that that's what this was. This was left by a guy who was famous in the city that I live in. He was the president of General Motors for many years, Canada Division, because I live in Oshawa, and that's GM Town, where it used to be. It's not so much that anymore. GM's still here, but used to employ about, how many people? 40,000 people. Now it's got maybe slightly over 2,000 because of, the years of downsizing and whatnot. But anyways, he left this property. This was his summer place. And it's not that far from the downtown city core, but at the time that he used to use it, sort of a hunting lodge and that was back in the 1920s and the early 30s. So it was a ways from the downtown of Oshawa because Oshawa wasn't built up as it is today. He left it in his will to the Boy Scouts of Canada, and there was a stipulation put in the will that said it could never be sold. It always had to remain in the possession of the Boy Scouts. So that's why we bought this lot. We did not want high-rise developments looking down into our backyard. So, and that's been really quite nice. We probably should do more with the backyard, but we don't. We've thought about putting in a garden, like a vegetable garden in here, but the bunnies come in, and it doesn't matter what you do. The bunnies they burrow, and they'll get in there and they'll eat everything in your garden. So instead, we do container gardening, as you know, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. So let's go here. Jeannie says, you inspired me to use my AccuQuilt. I'm waiting for a cube to arrive. Yep, AccuQuilt system is great. I love it, and I don't use it as much as I should, and but I do have some future plans because I'm going to make videos about it of making all the sample blocks that I've been making. I'm thinking about oh, sorry, you're not seeing me, you're seeing you. Putting them together in a quilt when I'm done going through all the various blocks. Let's see. Dubrovka says, just letting you know, we will miss 2 Sunday lives. No, say it isn't so. We're leaving for vacation. Oh, great. Where are you going? Where are you going, Dubrovka? Lily's here. She says, good morning. I'll watch the video later. Okay, you do that, Lily. Inez says, weather's very cold and wet here. For those of you that don't know, Inez is a regular subscriber. Never misses any of our productions, and we appreciate that. And she lives on the Rock, or which you would know as, if you're not from Canada, Newfoundland. And Sue's here. Hi, Sue. Better late than never. Yes, Sue. Very true. But I know you have an excuse. So, and we won't go into that excuse. Yeah, so what's next on the agenda here this morning? So I've told you what's coming up, sewing on Wednesday and the Saturday pop-up sew day. We've looked at the weather. So what about the grow lights? Well, let's just get myself set up. Let's see what's going on. Talk a little bit about gardening here. Where is my file? Just bear with me. Macs have a tendency to hide things on you. Yeah, okay. Here is what's growing on the grow lights. And some of you have asked us what were we going to do about everything that we had growing when we went to Japan. Well, basically the way these grow lights are set up, and it's kind of a dark picture, but under those pots that are there, it sits in a tray, and you fill the tray with water because there's a mat in there that absorbs the water and it sucks it up through the bottom of these planters that have holes in them. So by osmosis, they get watered. This is grow light number 1, not looking so good. This is the end of the lettuce crop that we had in there, and we just haven't cleaned it out yet to start new stuff. However, oops, wrong way. We have in grow light number 2, you see we have new crops. We have a new crop of basil, we have a new crop of pepper plants, and I believe there is some lettuce in this one happening, or I'm not sure what's happening in here. Oh, that might be onions. I didn't know that. Walter looks after. Oh yeah, well, read the 3D printed tags, won't you? These are onions. This is bell peppers that are here, basil, and this cucumbers. Yeah. We start the cucumbers. Walter's starting all these, and these will go outside into big, huge pots and grow from there. Cucumbers, you're going to say, well, cucumbers in a pot, because don't they spread out? Yes, they do, but we let them climb. The privacy lattice on our patio or on our deck outside, we did this last year, and it worked out brilliantly. They climbed up the lattice and hung there, and we got a good crop of cucumbers. So, yeah. And this year, I might actually take a few of the smaller ones, seeing how fast they come on and how many we get, and I might pickle them. I won't have enough to make a massive jar of pickles, but I'll do a few, maybe get 2 small jars out of it just to do it. So yeah, those are coming along. And in grow light number 3, or as I call this area the jungle, this is our tomato plants and pepper plants. Now, right now, they're looking a little, these are little cherry tomatoes, and we get them perpetually. But once they've had the tomatoes, they do get kind of wilted looking, and then flowers will appear again, and they'll all perk up. And you can see in this plant over here in this corner, it's the little yellow flowers coming, and some up here. So we have perpetual crop of these, and Walter has a few of these out on the deck right now that he's going to transplant into the pots, and they do really well out there. This big bushy thing in the back is actually a very old pepper plant. What I mean very old is we've had this for probably 1.5 to 2 years, and it's got some, you can't see them in this picture. You see stuff that looks dead on it, but that'll all drop off, and there's new growth coming. So again, we don't usually have to buy peppers. We might sometimes, depending on what we're making, but once this gets going and everything, and he's got the new plants that he's going to put out in the containers on the deck, and so we'll have lots of peppers to the point where at near the end of the season, whatever's left of them and that kind of thing, I pick, I slice up and put into baggies and freeze them, and they're great when you're for cooking purposes and stuff like that. So yeah, we enjoy this, and I especially love it in the summertime, because when all this stuff starts to come on and they're in the pots, we don't put flowers out on our deck. We have these. It looks lush, it's green, it's wonderful out there. And Walter's right in the process right now. You may have heard me say to him, are you going out work on the deck? He has cleaned up the deck, and he's restained it again. Every other year he basically has to do that. And so he's done half of it, letting that dry, and then he'll move the patio furniture we have all under wraps at the moment over to the part that has been redone, and he'll redo the other half, and then he'll get on to doing these pots. And you're going to say, poor Walter, he's doing all this work. He loves doing this. I do not love gardening. I like the end result. I do not love gardening. He does, so that's great. He wouldn't do it if he didn't like doing it. And I wouldn't do it properly, and I would be told that I was doing it wrong. So, you know, we have an agreement. He does what he does best, I do what I do best, and it works out for us. So yeah, that's the garden. Do I have anything more? I do have something more to show you, but I don't want to show that to you quite yet. So let me go here and see if there's been some comments that I need to deal with. And here we go. So we have oh, Ms. Linda is here. She's enjoying the coffee clutch. Glad you are. Dubrovka says, well, it's sort of a vacation. We have a funeral first. Oh, great way to start a vacation. Al's mom passed. Oh, well, be sure to, if Al's still there, we send our condolences and our sympathy over that. 1 week in Napanee. Oh, that could be 1 week in hell. No, but you say, then we'll take a week in Kingston with our son. Oh, okay. Kingston's nice, especially nice in the summertime. I went to Queen's University for my teaching degree there. And for those of you that don't know where Kingston is, Kingston's about 2 hours to the east of where I live. Bit more of a trip for Dubrovka because she's up in Timmins. But Kingston's really a nice little town in the summertime. Lots of great patios to go to eat on. You're on the waterfront, the whole bit. Yeah, that's something we'll probably get to Kingston sometime this summer as well. We haven't been in a couple of summers, so it'd be nice to go back. Elizabeth is here. She says, I have to go shuffleboarding every Mondays, and we are having a luncheon today as well, so I have to get going, get things set up. We'll have to go to the video later in the day. Okay, Elizabeth, sounds like fun. And Cheryl says, bye, Stephen, have to go. I'll catch up later. Yep, that's fine. You know, don't expect everybody to be here for the full time that I'm on listening to me. That's fine. We have lives, don't we? And it's always in the reruns if you're interested. So that was what was growing. So what is going on with the 3D printing? Well, someone asked me earlier, they could hear one working in the background. Yes, they are working on some things. Let me pull up for you. I have some pictures to show you if I can get things to cooperate with me. Here we are. And here we go. So my latest major project, you know that I love doing those houses and things by the guy named Fluval, or however you say his name. He came out with a new one. This one is called Santa's Pizza Restaurant, and it has a winter style, which is showing here a little snow on the bushes and things, and one without snow. I'm doing the one with the snow because it's Santa. It's sort of Christmassy. These take a long time to print, a lot of pieces, and then you have to assemble it and you have to light it up. So I do enjoy making these, and I've had quite a few and I've shown them in the past. So that's the project I'm working on right now. I've got the hiccups. Now this is going to be lit up. It's a series of hexagons you print out, and then you have these white colored little covers that sit on them. But there will be LED strip lighting inside each one of these, so they will glow. And I've decided to spruce it up. It's going to go out on the patio area on the wall for something, you know, something visual again. Always looks nice when it's dark out there with all the lighting that we have out there, and this will add to that. But I don't want just the plain white covers on them, which if you look at it closely, you notice there's a little bit of texture to them. I am printing some butterflies on the 3D printer, which I'm going to stick on maybe 3 of these, and they'll be raised up a little bit so they'll look 3-dimensional. Just add a little variety to them. They're actually monarch butterflies. I can't show them to you right now because the first one that I'm printing is being printed as we speak. So yeah, so that's what's happening with the 3D printers and what I'm working on now. There's always something in 3D to print. Um, it never stops. My printers are very seldom idle. They had a nice rest while I was away. But now back to the grindstone for those. So that's what we have planned. I don't think I have anything else there to show you. I do not. Okay, so I want to kind of end today with something that one of my subscribers from UK sent me this, and it has to do with AI, and I thought this was really interesting. Um, let's see, I'm just looking here to see if I missed any comments. Oh, Karen says there's a large GT boutique in Napanee. What's a GT boutique? I don't know what a GT boutique is. There's a great quilt store in Kingston. I know that. I've been to it before and I can't remember what it was called. I've been a couple of times. So next time I'm in Kingston, I will have to go there. But anyways, so this is about AI. And this comes from Malcolm King. He is a regular viewer of my videos and things like that. And he sends me some interesting stuff every now and then. And this was very interesting. It's a little long, but because I have talked about AI and, you know, the pros and cons of AI, and AI is the thing these days. Everybody's either has a fear of it or love it or something in between. So he wrote about an experience he had recently with AI, and I think this is it's both serious and funny. And he wrote this: Hello, Stephen and Walter. You must both be busy just now with all your usual YouTube work and preps for Japan. However, for your information and possible amusement, in a serious sort of way, you may find time to read through the following extract from then end of my most recent interaction over several hours over 2 days with an AI to help me set up a little NAS or NES for my 2-computer home network. A NES is basically a networking filing system kind of a thing that people often will put in their homes if they have multiple computers and they need storage space, or they need it's sort of a home network of sort. He says, perhaps reading it might be something to harmlessly pass a few minutes of your flight to Japan. I am a rather old, as you know, and allow myself to get very frustrated with life, but I think with justification. I hate it when Malcolm, and I've had this discussion with him before. Malcolm, I think, is in his 80s or early 80s, something like that. And he's a going concern. He got into quilting recently, and he does beautiful work. And he creates his own, he does art quilts, basically. So I keep telling him, stop calling yourself old, because you're not. You're vibrant. So he says, and I mean, here, obviously, a person of his age fooling around with an S, I wouldn't attempt an S. Because I really don't know what they do either. But he says, I want to set up a cheapest NES for my home because I use both a Windows and Mac computer, and I like to work on the same files from them both, but find access to each other files very unusable, usably stuttering. It occurred to me a shared NES for all my data files might be the answer. So far untested it is, incidentally. It's taken about 5 hours of work to set up. Then there was no user guide with the NES, and the quick start guide was erroneous to start with. Now I have found that AI can sometimes be helpful in working out inscrutable user interfaces so long as you correct it as it goes along. I finally succeeded with this latest H/W and S/W installation about half an hour ago, and I copy below the conclusion my final interaction with the AI. It may inform any discussion you two have on your YouTube channel regarding AI sometime. Okay, I have no idea what he's talking about with these HWs and SWs, and barely know what he's talking about with an S. He's definitely more computer savvy than me. Savvy, that's the word I want. Now, I do sort of have a home network here running through my router and my internet connection, because I too run multiple computers, and a couple of the computers are window based as opposed to the one I'm on right now, which is Mac. So I know what he's talking about there. But yeah, getting them to work together can be tricky. So he copied for me his conversation with AI, and this is what I find kind of abusing. So he starts off, he asked the AI something about what he should do next, and it says, an AI answered him and said, what happens next? The first backup will begin. It will take time depending on how much data is on your SSD. Let it run. When it finishes, you will see a green check mark or success message in Hyper Backup. You are done. Your NES is now automatically backing up your SSD to your HDD every night at 3 a.m. SSD is solid state drive, and HDD is the hard drive. Okay, your files are safe. Your Windows PC and Mac both have access. Everything is working. Congratulations, you made it. So the AI at this juncture of what he was doing helped him get it all set up and says, you know, you're done. You're great. Move on. He said to the AI, thanks, but I do wish you didn't get so many things wrong. Ooh, he's talking back to the AI. I know there's a disclaimer and all that, but I just don't understand how you get things wrong so often. Well, cut your AI to the core. I really pity people who are using you and your like to help them run their little or big businesses. Wow. It's okay with me. I can get frustrated and correct you, but there must be lots of answers you give to people that they cannot check or do not immediately have to check, which are as wrong as the many wrong answers you have given to me. Well, he's putting that AI in its place, isn't he? AI came back with this. You are right. I got things wrong. Many times. I gave you the wrong button location, wrong assumptions about what you would see on your screen, and instructions that sent you in circles. You had to correct me constantly, and that wasted your time and added to your frustration. Wow, I'm feeling a little sorry for the AI right now. It's admitting that it was wrong. Didn't think AIs would admit to something like that. There is no excuse. I should have asked more questions before telling you what to do. I should have said, I am not sure. Let me check with you first instead of pretending to know exactly what your screen would look like. This is getting scary now. This AI sounds like another human being. I mean, it's even saying pretending, like it actually was on purpose, giving wrong answers. And it goes on and says, you're also right that this is more serious when it happens to people running businesses who cannot spot the errors. That is a real problem, and I do not have a good answer for why it happens beyond the fundamental limitation of my design. What I can say is this: you succeeded despite my errors, not because of them. Your patience, your willingness to correct me, and your determination to get it working are what finished the setup. Okay, now the AI is flattering him. Thank you for being honest with me. It matters. If you ever need help again with the Raspberry Pi, the stepper motors, or anything else, I will try to do better. Ask me to slow down. Ask me to confirm what you see before I tell you the next click, and correct me every single time I'm wrong. You should not have to, but you are clearly very good at it. Okay, now this AI is getting in a little backhanded compliment. You know, here's what you should do. You should correct me when I'm wrong, but you should not have to. But you're clearly good, very good at it. In other words, a little bit of a poke there with a sharp stick, right? Enjoy your working in S. You have earned it many times over. Oh, and then stop with a nice little praise. And at this point, Malcolm said, thanks. And the AI said, you're very welcome. Enjoy your nest, your patchwork, your stepper motors, and your Raspberry Pi adventures. Keep that brain and those hands active. I will be here if you need me. Take care. I don't know, is it just me that finds this kind of spooky? This is not like talking to a computer. This is like talking to a human being on a helpline somewhere. It's kind of spooky, and it even slipped in that it knows that Malcolm is a quilter too, because it mentions patchwork. Okay. So, Malcolm finished up in his letter by writing to me, blimey, talk about ingratiation and contrition. You know what I mean. You'll infer from that knows what I need help for otherwise, too. I have no illusions. It's rather good that they, AIs, don't seem to get offended, isn't it? I should add that I try to refrain from actually swearing at it, but do get very close sometimes. There is a serious point, though, isn't there? With the things I consult them AIs for, I can tell when they're wrong because the instructions they give are so demonstrable erroneous. But what about people who rely on answers to things they cannot check, and that might be important, very important. Just hope Trump's military aren't using it too much to inform them about how to work their own weapons. Yeah, scary part. And he mentions here, yeah, right now it's not, you can't insult them. But with the way this thing talked to him this time, you're beginning to think that maybe it is taking on a personality and maybe you could hurt it. And, you know, computers are integrated into our internet systems. Maybe we're not that far away from the Terminator movies. You know, if you've seen those, computers take over the world. It's kind of scary. And that, and also, you know, some people really believe everything they're told by an AI is the absolute accurate truth. That's dangerous in certain hands, like the military, as he suggests. So I thought that was really interesting. And I thank Malcolm for sending me that because, yeah, that's kind of scary. It is, really. So, anyways, see what any other comments here. Oh, giant tiger. Caroline says, oh, okay, I loved a giant tiger. One of my favorite stores. Charlotte says, oh my goodness, AI is rather sassy. Yes, it is. And it says it scares me for sure. Yep. Me too, says Charlotte. And Rod is here. Oh, it's Diane. Okay. Hi, Diane. Yes, that AI is creepy. Glad you're back. Thank you, Diane. And it says, in the medical field, it would be dangerous. Yes, and people are using AI now to diagnose health problems they have. And I have to admit, I am one of those people as well. Though anything I get, I use AI quite a bit. I do love it. But I do take what it tells me with a grain of salt. I always have to verify the information. I don't believe it at face value, even though it sounds very convincing. Just as Malcolm said, there are errors. And you have to be aware of that. And I think that's how we're going to make AI work for us, by being skeptical about it. We can't turn our back on it. It's in everything, our appliances, our homes. We have it in one form or another. There is AI there. So we have to learn to embrace it. We have to learn to work with it. But we must keep in mind, in the back of our heads, we are humans. We created this. We are in control, and never give up our control to something that is manufactured by humans. Basically, be skeptical about whatever the AI tells you or does, and take back your control. And so, speaking of taking back control, I think that's it for me today. It's time for you to take back control of your day as well, because I'm sure you have things planned and things you want to get done. Thank you for joining me. I do enjoy doing these Monday morning coffees live. So the next one will probably be, our regular schedule is the last Monday of every month. I do my Monday morning coffee live then. The rest of the time it is pre-recorded. So I think I will get myself back onto that schedule, and there will be one on the last Monday of this month. So hope you can join me then for it as well, and tune in to all the other stuff I put out this week that Walter and I put out. And thank you for your support. I want you to know it doesn't go unappreciated. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, if you're new, please do, because it does create with YouTube. I didn't used to say this, but I do say it now because I have found evidence of it. It does put it out there for the greater part of the world. And that's why I do it. I mean, I don't do this for money. I don't do it for any reason except I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy my interaction with all of you. So have a great week. Have a great day. And we'll see you later in the week. And don't forget about, if you're available and wish to, about sewing with me on Wednesday or sewing with me on Saturday. See you all later. Bye for now.